Oh, oh, how nice you could come. It's a little while since we saw each other last, and here we all are. I'm still Bishop Peter Fox, coming to you from St Edward's, Castle Donington, and it's been a little while since we had one of these conversations, isn't it? So it's. I hope you're keeping well. I can hardly believe how fast the year's going by. I mean, it's Easter's already on the horizon, and we're in this time called Lent now, just beginning Lent. Lent, is a time. Is the time. Lent is a time when we think about sin. Well, it's not quite what I mean. Sin is what Lent is all about. No, that's not quite what I meant either. Well, let's put it this way. It's a very good time to say sorry. Sorry for what? I hear you cry. Well, we've all got something, haven't we? I mean, for instance, I'm sorry about Andy. Andy was an old mate of mine, and we met up, and we basically thought we'd get together and have a pint to catch up on old times. And then I can't remember what happened. Something came up. It's probably work, and I had to cancel. And we said, well, I'll give you a ring a bit later, and we'll reorganise it, meet up another time. Well, I always meant to give Andy a ring, and I just never got around to it. From time to time, I'd think to myself, let's give Andy a ring and arrange to get together. But then other things happened and passed out of my mind. It went on happening. I mean, I just never got round to it. And then one day, I got the letter from Andy's wife and realised I wasn't going to get together with Andy for that last drink. I hadn't even known about his funeral. And I suppose if we were to sit and compare notes, you and I, we've all got things like that. Lots of things like that. I mean, my life, like yours, I expect, is full of the good things I would have done, but never got around to it. And all the bad things I did do that I wouldn't have done if I'd used my head a little bit more. And we could sit, you and I, and we could trade lists of things like that, things we're sorry about, because that's what being human is. We're just fallible, imperfect human beings, and we've all got things to be sorry for. It's a little bit like years ago when I was young and incredibly handsome, I'd like you to imagine. I was the rector of a place called Siderston in Norfolk, and we had a church warden there called Fred Mussett. Fred was a curmudgeonly old codger, to be honest, but I kind of liked him somehow. It was a very strange thing. He and I had lots of things we disagreed about. I was this young whippersnapper of a parson, and he was this old veteran of a church warden, and we didn't always see eye to eye. But I sort of liked Fred. The thing about Fred was, you knew where you were with him. You knew who he was. What you saw was what you got. You always knew where you were with Fred Mussett. Anyway, the time came for us to move on. Pastors knew, Angie and I, and we were going to leave Norfolk. A little while before we left, Fred said something which in Norfolk was a high praise indeed. He said to me, well, you say, you ain't been a bad parson. He said, and one thing I got to say for you, Rector, he said, before you come here, people in Siderston didn't know what sin was, but you showed us. Which is a sort of compliment, I suppose, of a kind. But it's true, isn't it? We're all of us just imperfect human beings. We've all got it wrong from time to time. Thing is, there's absolutely no point beating yourself up about it endlessly. Going on and on and on, feeling guilty about things it's too late to change. It's a waste of time. Some people feel it's sort of kind of virtuous, they feel being guilty is a sort of Christian thing to be. Not the least bit of it. The last person who wants you to feel guilty all the time is God, so don't blame him for it. Feeling guilty all the time, meaninglessly going round and round and round, is simply, it's not just a waste of time. It takes you nowhere. So if there's things you're thinking about, whether now, during Lent, or any time, and you're looking back and you're feeling sorry about something, well, there are things you can do much better than just brooding on your guilt. First thing is acknowledge it. See it for what it is. Say, I did the wrong thing here. I did something that was bad. Or I didn't do something I should have done. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge that just like the rest of us, you're just an ordinary, imperfect, fallible human being. And sometimes you just get it wrong. Next thing you can do, if there's a way you can put it right, then do it. Don't just sit feeling guilty about it. See if you can put it right. If you can't put it right, or in any case, the one thing you can do is to say sorry. To really say sorry to that person you've hurt. And hope that they forgive you. And then what? Well, then move on, because today is a new day. And there are millions of opportunities every single day to do something right, to do the right thing, decent thing, the kind thing. So for every failure there might have been in our lives, there are thousands of opportunities to get it right next time. There's one other thing you can do too, and that is knowing that you, and like me, just an ordinary sinful human being, cut the other guy a bit of slack. When you've been hurt by someone, or they've done something that was negligent or unfair, cut them a bit of slack, because just like you, they're only human. Today is a new day. You can't change yesterday, but you can sure change tomorrow. God bless.